What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Pillow Talk with Paul Goneau. Today, my guest is fellow comedian Jwalit Bharwani.
Good to be here, man. Good to be here.
Oh, man. It's good to have you, dude. I wanted to get you on from time. Now, we don't know each other too much, so I kind of wanted to, get you on to get to know you a little better. Yeah. You know what I mean? Outside of the comedy world. You told me that you lived in Scarborough.
Yeah.
Were you born in Scarborough?
No.
Did you move to Scarborough?
I moved to Scarborough from India, straight from India.
From India. And how long have you been in Canada?
So I'm going to finish 8 years in April.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And what was the deciding factor in coming here?
So essentially, parents wanted to move, right? Because so I'm from a smaller town in India, right? So what happened was career-wise, they hit a glass ceiling. It's imagine a small town in Alberta. It's at some point you're gonna hit a glass ceiling, right? So they were like, oh, okay, if we want to grow in our careers, we gotta move. And they're like, if we're gonna move, might as well, take a bigger jump and just move countries, right? And we had family friends who lived here, and my parents were like, hey, we're just gonna put our paperwork. It costs very little processing fees to do that. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, we're still here. There was nothing at stake to try. And then we applied and we got the paperwork through. So we're like, okay, we're moving. So that was the vibe.
All right. So, because I've never been outside of, I've been a little bit into the States.
Yeah.
Like Buffalo, that kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
But I've never been outside of Canada. Were there did you guys have other options, or were you automatically Canada's the place?
Yeah.
And what was appealing about Canada?
So there's some context, right? So a lot of because of where India is, or was at least 10 years ago, was that a lot of people want to move because they feel the country's systems are corrupt and stuff like that, and they want to move out, right? But there's this romanticization of the West. Right, since I've grown up, there's been the West. It's the land of opportunity. Okay. It's essentially the basic spiel is that once you move, that's it. Now you're successful. Mm-hmm. Everyone who moves to this country is successful, which is not true. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same as saying just because I moved to New York, doesn't mean I'm going to be a successful comedian. That doesn't. Sure, you can equate that. All of us are told oh, New York's the city for comedy, but it's it's not necessary that I'm going to go there and be successful.
Right.
Right? So they romanticize the West, right? So it's usually UK, America, Canada, Australia a little bit, New Zealand. It's basically white countries. Okay. Predominantly, right? But the problem with UK is the immigration's next to impossible. And with the U.S. in the last 10 years, it's become significantly more difficult.
Yeah, and Australia's, really hard as well.
Yeah, Australia's difficult, and then Australia also had a bunch of racist Indian students. There was a lot of
Gotcha.
it wasn't as bad as how it is with the African American community in America, but it was bad. There was a lot of police brutality with Indians. Every Indian was you know what, maybe not Australia. Maybe not let's not, if it's an unknown country, I don't, and it's not it's bad or anything. I know Indians who immigrate there all the time, but it's just there was a phase where it was bad. And then we were okay, and then basically what happened was Canada opened up its immigration policies, and it was super easy. So I think that was the big one. Mm-hmm. Even we were talking about it, and the paperwork that we got in on that qualified us in 2016 wouldn't count now. It wouldn't we wouldn't make the cut now. So in the last 8 years, it's become even more difficult. Sort of that's the vibe. So that was exciting. The fact that it's a Western country was exciting, and there's a little bit of there's more systems in place. There's corruption, but not that blatant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I get pulled over, I'm getting a ticket.
Yeah. Have you dealt with any shit here like that?
Not as much. You hear about it, but you hear it on a very global, a higher scale, right? You hear oh, people do scams in their jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's no hey Paul, I'm gonna I'm gonna slip you $100. How about you let my faulty paperwork through? And it's I'm not gonna take that much of a I'm not gonna take that much of a risk for $100. You gotta pay me an exorbitant amount for me to risk my job.
Have you dealt with any prejudice or any any of that racist bullshit since being here though that you were kind of trying to avoid? from other countries?
It's weird, right? So, like, in Toronto, no, as much. It's microaggressions. It's, like, the basic stuff. Like, oh, like, for an Indian person, your English is really good. Like, that sort of stuff. Or, like, oh, like, people will ask questions that don't really make sense. Like, do you speak Indian? I'm like, that's not a language. Like, not to be that. But, But to be fair, like, a couple of years ago, I was like, do you speak Chinese? And that's not a language either, right?
Yeah.
It's either Cantonese or Mandarin, right?
Yeah.
So, it's microaggressions and stuff like that. It's not very, like, major. But it's not been very... Canada's been very good in terms of, like, prejudice and, like, racism against brown people. But, again, that's my experience, right? Like, I'm sure there's people out there who face it on the daily, right?
Yeah, everybody has different experiences, you know?
for sure. Yeah, and like maybe I get away with it because I don't have an accent, right? And maybe I get away with it because I'm like a light-skinned Indian and not a dark-skinned Indian. Like there's a lot of factors to it, right?
Yeah.
So like I've definitely like not faced much, but I can't speak for others. I'm sure people have.
No, I feel like you actually moved here probably around the same time that my girlfriend did, and like I want to say that she had like maybe just kind of a small fear of that, like experiencing like racism and prejudice and just what all the bad shit that comes with not being, you know, I guess white, you know, and so I feel like she kept to herself for a little bit, and since we've been dating, she's been kind of really, I don't know, from when we met, and I'm not saying she's not the same person, because she definitely is, but she's just come out of her shell so much even since we've met. Did you have like a time, like when you moved here, you weren't doing comedy?
No.
When did you start comedy?
Like last year.
Okay, all right. Less than a year, you would say?
Less than a year.
All
8
right.
months to be very precise. Yeah.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, fun times, yeah.
That's amazing. And you've been killing it so far.
Thank
How
you,
you been enjoying it?
Oh, I've been loving it.
Yeah.
I've been loving it. I feel like with comedy, it was definitely a moment where like I felt so comfortable that I was like, I can go on stage and be myself. Right? So like for example, like nowadays, like when I'm on stage, I talk about the Indian experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
A couple of years ago, I would have been okay to talk that with my friends, people who know me, but not in front of strangers.
Yeah.
On stage.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, you know what? If I can put this into context, I can make a joke about it and people will laugh. Right? So
yeah, and they don't just have to be like brown. Like brown comedians
100%.
don't just have to be for brown people.
Yeah,
I feel
100%.
like that's like a big misconception, I think.
Yeah. It's a very different thing because for me, it's like I speak other languages and I don't mind doing comedy in those languages. And at that point, that becomes a show for people who understand that language.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But it doesn't have to be where you can't make, like, brown jokes in front of other, like, non-brown people, essentially.
Yeah.
Right? So it's in my head, I'm like, okay, as far as I can catch them up to the context that they need, then I can make those jokes. Like, sometimes, yeah, sure, if I just walked in a room full of brown people, I could make some jokes without giving any context, because it's a shared lived experience, right? Or like, say example, like we're both wrestling fans, right? So if we did a show for people who were into wrestling, I could just walk up and make like a Triple H joke that most people in the room will get without any context. But if I were to do just a regular comedy show, I would explain who Triple H is, what he does, and then haha, here's a joke. Right? So I think that's just
and even still, they wouldn't get it like wrestling fans.
Oh, 100%. They would not get it. They would not get it. So it would have to be either really well explained in my setup or something so common that people just know about brown people.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. So, how did your parents feel? Have they seen you?
Yeah, they've seen me, yeah.
And?
They like it. They don't mind it.
Yeah.
They don't have a problem with it. The only thing is they say that I'm burning the candle on both ends sort of thing, because I work full time.
Yeah.
And I do stand up. Yeah. So they're like, hey, just like don't. And
they don't like either of your jobs. They're like, what's your 9 to 5?
I work in construction.
Oh yeah. So you were already a failure to them, right? But and you're doing comedy? God damn it, Jwalit.
Can you do at least one of the things? Man, it's been the thing with construction is so I work on the office side.
Okay.
Which is good. I don't I'm not physically strong enough to work on the site.
Gotcha.
Nor am I tall enough. Like I would not be able to reach anything. But
because you grab that shit for me.
They're like, it's 3 blocks. You do it. So it's like project management sites. It's still close to like, like my degree because I studied engineering. So
gotcha.
I was like, okay, so
gotcha.
that's like close enough to what I do. Mm-hmm. But they don't mind the comedy because they are obviously are like, okay, he's doing it for fun. But they're just like, hey, like, you can't go to bed at 1 a.m. every day and wake up at 5 a.m. Right? Like it's not gonna work. Like
sustainable. It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. 100%. I get it. And like, I started because when I started, I was too excited. I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to hit every open mic in the city. I want to be on.
And you drive too, so were you going like to far distances for like open mics and things like that?
Dude, there's a mic. It's a good mic. It happens in Peterborough on Tuesdays. I go from Scarborough to Peterborough, dude. It's an hour and a half, like one way. Maybe an hour over there, because you can't just leave, right? Like, you can't just do your 10 and then walk off. Like,
unless you bomb.
Yeah, then I'll just leave.
Like, bro, I have a thing. I gotta
bounce.
Gotta dip.
But like it's hard, right? So I'll do it, but it's a great mic because like it has real audience and like they are like GTA audience, so they get my brown jokes and stuff. Their immigrant jokes are very friendly with them. So like it was great, but like I can't do it every week. Like I do it once a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard. But they're happy with it. They're just like, don't exhaust yourself. Don't sleep 4 hours a night is what they're saying.
Yeah.
which is fair.
It's hard, man.
It's hard, yeah.
Even if you're done at like, well, I can't speak for you, but for me, even if I'm like home by like 11 and I come from a show that was like wicked, like it's hard to come down.
Oh yeah, 100%. The adrenaline is crazy, dude.
I come home, if my lady doesn't come with me, she's really good with coming to shows, but sometimes, especially now, because she's like 7 months pregnant, she's getting like big. She's not coming to like as many, and I come home and like I'm just loud and chatty and shit, and she's just like, fucking shut up,
It's bad.
That's hard to come down, dude.
It's hard. That's why I get like when comics hang out after a show, because they're just trying to keep the vibe going. Right?
Yeah,
like, there's so much dopamine and adrenaline in me from that great show. Let's have a couple drinks or let's do something for an hour and a half and then I'll go home. And I'm like, okay, but like it's 3 a.m. now.
Like, you guys don't have jobs? Like,
yeah, like I'm just
some people I just don't know how they
understand. I can't understand
how they survive.
Yeah,
I don't do drugs. Maybe that helps.
I don't know.
But I can't see it helping.
I don't do drugs either. For me, it's like
I smoke weed. I don't know. Some people might consider that a drug. I don't.
In my head, if it's legal, is it a drug? But like, so is like Tylenol then.
Yeah, you could argue it's like, oh man.
So is Tylenol.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sugar's a drug, dude. So it's
technically, yeah.
Instagram.
For real, man.
It's a drug.
We're getting into uncharted territory, bro.
Yeah.
Like it should be like somewhere classified.
Yeah,
there should be like some sort of like new class of like stimulants, depressants, fucking digital or some
100%.
stupid acronym. You know what I mean?
It is crazy, dude. Like I could tell you for sure. I drink. Like,
are you on TikTok?
I am on TikTok, but it's not as bad with TikTok. It'll get there, I know. But like, I checked Instagram from when I parked my car to when I got to your door. You know what I mean?
Twice.
Like I was like in the middle. I have notification. It's nothing. But yeah. And after comedy, especially, oh my god, I've started checking Instagram so much.
Yeah.
Because it's become like how I get spots.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like...
That's my excuse with my lady, man. It's like, oh, well, like a lot of the times I am doing stuff, but at least like half the time I'm not. And I'm just looking at bullshit.
Yeah.
Like a dog jump in a giant pile of snow and disappear. You know what I mean? Just stupid shit that I don't need to be wasting my time with.
It's such a dopamine hit. It's insane. Like, I think like... When I learned about dopamine and how it works, I was like, this is a real drug. Like, all we're doing is chasing dopamine. Right? Like, all day, every day, that's what we're doing. Right? Comedy, Instagram, TikTok. Jeez.
Yeah, my lady's addicted to TikTok.
Yeah, that's a dopamine.
Like, five TikToks in the morning, like, within, like, 10 minutes of her waking up. It's just, like, wild. And then, like, a half hour later, it's like, why haven't you checked them? Have you not checked them? Well, like, what's wrong with you? I don't know. I don't even have TikTok, bro. But I basically do, like, I watch those same stupid videos on Instagram and fucking
it's
Facebook.
just a downgrade. So. It's the same as, like, when you don't have Twitter, but you see the best stuff. Yeah. It makes it through. Instagram has become, it's like Union Station. Like, everything comes there, you know? Everything comes to Instagram. Like, the best tweets, the best TikToks, the best, like, Facebook memes, the best YouTube clips, they'll all come to Instagram. Like, it's become the central hub.
I like that.
It's
I get it. Yeah. And I totally agree, dude. That's essentially what... I think it's the best, but they're also changing how it is, I feel like. It's becoming more of a TikTok, like a more video focused social media platform, if you will.
And they haven't even, like... They're not even, like, subtle about it. Like, the Instagram, the CEO apparently just came, like... He just did, like, a video whatever thing, where he just was like, we're becoming more video-centric. And which is ironic because Instagram was started as a photo platform. Yeah. Like, you couldn't even post videos when it started. And then later when you could post videos, it was like 15 seconds and then went up to a minute. Now you can post a whole fucking movie if you want. Like, it's bad. So Instagram has, like, blatantly said we're becoming a video platform.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to... I feel like you're really good with the clips and stuff. You know, you post quite a few clips already, so you have, like, I don't have, not of, like, my stand-up, anyway. Yeah. You know, I think I need to start doing, maybe even revisiting some old, just record, because I have, like, I saw, actually, like, as I'm about to talk about, like, all the stuff that I have, like, saved, I saw, like, your, like, spreadsheet of all, like, your shows and shit, like... How many gigs of, like, data do you think you have of, like, show recordings?
Oh, wow, that's crazy. So I was just sorting that yesterday, and my problem was when I started, and I still have that problem, when I do stand-up, I don't pause enough. Like, I'm getting better at it, but I don't pause.
I feel you.
Right? So, like, I will talk over my laughs, I will talk over my, like, second, you know, sometimes the laugh is going like that, and there's, like, a second sort of... Just a little hit a wave, I talk over that shit. Like, I cut on my own laughter, which is bad. Cause
I do it sometimes as well, yeah.
But to be fair, like, every open mic I go to, it's like, you have 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I'm like, if people are laughing, I can't do more than 2 jokes. So I spent 3 hours coming here, and now I'm only going to do 2 jokes. Like, in my head, it's not worth my effort. So I'm like, I remember I was at one
Guys,
mic.
shut the fuck up. Thank you.
No, literally, dude. I was about to say, I was at a mic and I literally told someone to shut up so I could keep doing my jokes. Because I got the light. I'm like, can I just please? I have 2 more punchlines to get through. Can I just... I'm like, dude, it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have, for sure. I get it. Because one day, if I have to do 20 minutes, then I'm like, oh, please laugh for longer so this 20 minutes goes by faster. But it's like, I think we're talking 50 gigs, at least. Yeah. In the last 8 months. And because it's all video, that's the problem. Yeah. So now I started doing where it's like, if it's just an open mic, I'll do audio only. But if it's a show, I'll do video.
Yeah, something, especially since I've been, like, hosting my own shit. Yeah. Like, a problem that I've been running into is, like, I get a lot of, like, crowd work stuff done in between comedians. Yeah. And, like, I generally only will record my set. So I started... like, recording just, like, the whole show.
Oh, but then you're running out of brutal. Space. Oh,
yeah, it's bad, dude. It's so bad. Much. Like, just an hour worth of, or, like, you know, probably maybe, like, 50 minutes of something, you know, with the other comedians and then me, you know, in between. Yeah. It's a lot of space, bro. Yeah. Like, I'm talking, I was looking at, like, a 16 terabyte, like, external hard drive. I was thinking about getting something that big. Because I already have, like, an external hard drive that's full. My computers are both, like, I got a couple terabytes on my, you know, my main one. And my laptop's, like, I think 1 terabyte. Yeah. And, like, everything's just full, bro. Yeah, and I've had to, like, spread it around. And I'm just, like, I'm running out of space. 100%, you know?
100%.
And it's not, granted, it's not just, like, all... Yeah. But I probably have, like, all together, just comedy stuff, like, of me. Yeah. You know? Oh, man. At least 500 gig, probably half a terabyte.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if you're doing your own... Because if I'm even thinking, right, like, even if you say, like, so you record a show today, right? And then you come home and you just cut out the bits of the comedians in the middle. You're like, I don't need this. That's not me. And then you're left for, like, what, a 25 minutes still?
Well, most of the time I don't do that. I'll cut some stuff out of it, but then I still have like the whole file like just
That's
sitting
fair,
there.
yeah.
I need to like you seem actually like way more organized. Like
Because I don't have space.
I'm trying to be.
But the thing is, the reason it's very easy for me to organize because I only record. I don't host shows, right? So I only record my bits. So my phone's set up. Like at your show, for example, when I did at Comedy Bar Danforth, because the green room is in the back, I set up my camera, and all I did was I started it on the person before me. Right? So I have the person before me half set. I have you in the middle doing 2 jokes. And then I have me. So it's an 18-minute file between all 3 of us. And then I go home and I just removed your part and the first comedian before me.
Yeah.
So it's just like... But you have to cut out
I
like
need to do that.
10 comedians.
Yeah.
And then you have to cut out 10 comedians. That's a lot of work.
Yeah,
I would be lazy. I get it.
It's a little more work.
It's a lot of more work, 100%.
I gotta be more.
Yeah.
I gotta be more. I don't want to say present because we're both talking about how we're both on that shit too much, and I am.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to change my approach on social media. Maybe that's the way I want to word what I'm trying to.
The thing is, like, it's hard, dude. It's hard. Like, because I think about it, and, like, people who post a lot, content-wise, it's like a second job.
Oh, for sure. Man.
Right? Like, it's like a second job. Because, like, I talk to comedians who post a lot, and they say themselves, it's like, sometimes, like, I will not go to mics because I want to make, like, 4 or 5 TikToks. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. They're like, oh, I don't have any new material to work out. I'm not feeling it. It's cold outside. It's a snowstorm. The mic's far. Like, there's 10 reasons to not go. It's very easy to sit at home and make TikToks. Right? And I'm like, yeah, but, like, that's hard, dude. Like, that's...
Some people I think also, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but I did TikTok briefly, and I got like shadow banning's like a real thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I don't know exactly what it was. I was just posting clips from my podcast. Like, I started it when I started the podcast. Just for that, you know, and maybe I was gonna, you know, insert some stand-up or make some, you know, whatever videos specifically for that platform, but, like, I just posted maybe, like, 6 videos, and then they all had, like, you know, a couple thousand, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, like, the last 2 that I posted before I deleted the thing were, like, just, like, 8 views, like, 10 views. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what did I say? I don't know. I honestly can't even think of the clips anymore, but when I listened to them, I was like, what could it have been? Like, I don't understand. But then it's like, oh my God, the things that you can get away with, it just doesn't make sense. And I don't think I'm not good enough for it to be worth the hassle. But, like, people like Hillary Henderson and Che Durena, like, they're fucking crushing that shit. And all the power to them, man. This is what I was saying, I think, before we started recording. Was just like everyone's got different goals. Everyone wants to achieve different things, and like to them, like they're getting the same satisfaction and I guess recognition doing the TikToks as like maybe me or you do when we're on stage, and that's cool, man. That's cool, but it doesn't seem like it's worth the hassle for me, man.
100%.
You know.
And it's also weird because, like, for us, at first I thought, like, oh, if I can build an audience, then it works for me because it translates to my stand-up. Right? Because, like, if I have, say, 10,000 followers.
Oh, yeah.
And if I can post a ticket link to a show, and even if 20 of them show up, that's worth it, right? Because the ratio is that.
Yeah.
Or around that, right? Like, because not everyone that follows you on Instagram is going to leave their house, spend 3 hours, spend $20 to watch you live, right?
Yeah, a lot of them aren't even gonna like your shit.
Yeah, 100%, right? Because it's different from what because on Instagram, on TikTok, it's lower stakes. I can be silly. I can do whatever I want. On stage, I have to like hit my punchlines. I have to cater to the audience. I can't just put music to make someone laugh, or I can't just put a GIF somewhere to make someone laugh, or act stupid to make someone laugh. It's a different kind of humor, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, like the percentage of the audience that actually translates to like real life tickets is very low. Not everyone's gonna... Because it's very easy to go double tap, scroll, than to go, okay, you know what? I follow Paul on Instagram, and he's hilarious, so I'm gonna take out, like, 4 hours out of my day, travel an hour and a half, spend $20 on tickets, $20 on drinks, $20 on food, and then go watch his show.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's hard. So if 10,000 people follow you, maybe you'll sell 20 more tickets. So then, but to get to 10,000 followers is a lot of work. So it's like, why do I don't want to do this.
And it's weird, and like, this is like, this weird thing because, like, on one hand, like, I think that way, exactly what you just, like, laid out. And then on the other hand, it's like, you have some, like, you know, I don't know, some woman, just, like, with big boobs, but they're covered, and she has, like, some sort of, like, lingerie thing, right? She's wearing, like, a t-shirt, and she just, like, shakes it like this over her t-shirt. She didn't even have it on. 3 million likes.
Yeah, 100%.
Doesn't make sense, bro. Doesn't make sense.
Sex sells. It's the weirdest shit ever. It's the weirdest shit ever.
And that's what I'm saying with TikTok. It's like the things you can get away with. Like, bro, I'm not super controversial. Like, I'm just not. That's not the kind of comedy that I bring to the table.
100%.
So I don't know how.
Yeah, you could get shadow banned for, like, talking about abortion rights, but not showing your tits as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but, like, one of these is a crime. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? No, absolutely.
So I'm like, that's bad, dude. It's bad.
I totally agree, dude.
I was watching a bunch of comics on a podcast, right? And they were thinking, like, they were all like, look, we all started stand-up full-time because we hated our jobs. And we hated structure of a 9-to-5. And we hated, like, having a boss, right? And then we've come to stand up, and everyone's like, oh, you gotta post more reels. You gotta post more TikToks. You gotta have more clips, and you gotta have clips on your podcast. And it's like, okay, but now we started stand up to get away from structure, but now we've just made. My boss is now the algorithm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you hated a boss that was a real person, and now you have a boss that's like an algorithm that an app made. You know, it's like, what's the point? Like, you're still answering to someone. It's just someone else now. So what's the point of starting stand up or like anything creative if you don't get to have the freedom?
Exactly.
Right? Because the art is about freedom. Like, I should be able to do what I want and people will like it. Right? But if it's like, oh hey, like, can you imagine if you went to like Bob Ross and like, yo, you gotta have like a reel. Like 10 tips to like paint fast, and he's like, no, bro, I'm gonna take 3 hours to paint a sunset, and you're gonna love it. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fair enough. Like, we are, right? Like,
Bob, the show's hot. Bob, it's hot.
Bob is great, man. Yeah. Bob, what you do is great. You gotta have some reels. Like, you know, you gotta, like, yo, Da Vinci, like, I love the Lisa, like, she's great, but like, Can you show us in 15 seconds how you painted this masterpiece? It's like, what? No, I can't. Like, imagine if like someone was like, because I'll see those like, I don't know. I think you're a film buff, from what I understand.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
right, exactly, right. So, I see those films sometimes where someone's like, oh, in this shot in Interstellar, Christopher Nolan did this, blah blah blah, to get this right.
Yeah,
and in my head I'm like, oh, this is great, but I want to see a documentary on this. Like, I now want to watch a 15-minute long documentary where he talks about how he got the hotel, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, he got the scenes, he got the black hole scene, he got, like, Matthew McConaughey to cry on camera like nothing else. And I'm like, yeah, it's great on the reel, but you're covering, it's like the tip of the iceberg.
How old are you?
24.
24.
I'm turning 25 this month, but yeah.
Okay. So you think a little, like, well, like, I was like, oh man, I thought you were young, like around that age, but then the way you're talking, I'm like,
I'm a little older.
Because like these times, even like there's like, do you know who Chris Van Vliet is?
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, so he was just recently saying that like his Clip YouTube channel subscribers is like surpassed the amount of subscribers he had on his regular channel that he started like years before or whatever, before the Clip channel.
Yeah.
You know, and to me that was just like, it's crazy, but that's like the kind of shift we're in, and I feel like I ought, as much as I don't want to have like, I'm already on Instagram and it's going that way, and I don't want to kind of be like, I'm at like a crossroads where I don't want to become like I'm 37, you know, I'm like a little up there, and I don't want to be that guy who's like just like stuck in his ways.
Yeah,
I don't want to get left in the dust, bro.
Yeah,
as everyone's like, oh, you didn't join TikTok? Are you not doing videos?
Yeah.
You know, so it's weird because I'm just not super interested.
I bet. No, I fully agree. So I'm very hypocritical when I say this, right? Because part of me is also like, hey, you got to keep up with times. Because you could say the same way about like, hey, like back in the day, people didn't do like 5 or 10 minute stand up sets. Like even a basic comedian would do 20 minutes at least, because that's real stand up. That's real art, and it's like. But we do like 7-minute spots all the time.
Yeah.
That's all I do. And like, it's fucking dope. I love it. I don't have 20 minutes if you ask me to perform. Right? So in my head, I'm like, fully, you got to keep up with times, but it's definitely like more annoying than it is. Like, because it's disheartening to put all this work on your TikTok, you know, and then it just not like hitting right. Yeah. And then just the most random shit in the world just like works, and I'm like, what's going on right now? Like you see that, right? Like you see that with TikTokers who like get stuck in a pattern, right? So there's this guy who reacts to like satisfying videos, and one thing he did was he's reacting. There's a door behind him, and when something like really cool happens, he leaves the room because that's how cool it is. But now that's all he does. So when you're watching his videos, it's like you know the video is gonna end when he leaves the room because that's his closer, right? And I'm like, okay, but like do something different. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's great, but do something different.
Yeah, there's like people on TikTok that are like
who only do one thing.
Like the facts guy. Do you know who the facts guy is?
Yeah.
And it's like all he does is read other funny shit that other people have come up with.
Yeah.
You know? And then he says like facts. Or, you know, laughs a certain way.
Yeah.
And, like millions of followers, yo. I don't know.
It's weird. Like, yeah, like you can say like, okay, maybe like people follow him because he curates cool shit, right? But in my head, I'm like, even the same thing is when people react to memes, right? Like the meme, because this is how people got upset when like the meme reaction became like a YouTube thing, right? Because like before that, or like a Twitch thing, before that it was like real YouTube video, like people would make sketches and like funny whatever. But people started meme reacting. I'm like, that's funny. If like Paul and I are sitting and we look at a funny meme and we laugh, that's great. But what if we both are like, okay, we're both comics. Let's add like 3 tags to that, and we make that funnier. Okay, now it's worth it, right? Because like I'm not only seeing a funny meme, I'm actually seeing like someone live make jokes to that. It's like an improv show, almost, right? So ish, right? Yeah. So in my head, I'm like, okay, that's great. This is worth it. But if all it was just haha next meme, I'm like, what? I can do that on my own on TikTok. Like I don't have to. It's weird. I don't get it. But I agree with you. I want to keep up with times. I don't want to be lost in it.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
Yeah.
You got any like hobbies other than like
stand up?
Would you say stand up is? I guess it's kind of a hobby. Is that you know?
I'm too much into it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, I used to play soccer.
Okay.
I used to play soccer, but that's like stopped. I gotta get that into it again because not much of a gym guy. Like gyms are boring. Like I can't do it. But like soccer, because you're having fun, you don't realize that how much you're exercising.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta start playing soccer again.
That's kind of like why I like got into Muay Thai.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it right now. Yeah. But I'm in the process of like, there's like a bunch of dudes that. So we trained originally, like I was doing like Muay Thai in Milton. And then I kind of went to this Battle Arts Academy gym in Mississauga, and they have like jiu-jitsu, and they do pro wrestling, Muay Thai. Nice. And so like I was going there and doing a little bit of Muay Thai and training as like doing the ref stuff with the wrestlers there. And then one of the coaches, like the coach that, I don't know, everyone kind of really looked up to, he... no longer works there, let's just say.
Oh, okay.
And so since then, like a lot of people were just like, hey man, like we should do like some like renegade gym and just like find a space. And like I haven't done any of the hard work. Like they're talking, they found the space, and right now we're all coming up with a day where we can like move the ring there and like all this stuff. So I think eventually I'll be, you know, doing some gym-ish stuff. Nice. But like I've always had a problem with just like going and lifting weights. And like I have like a back issue, like I fractured my back when I was like in my teens. And like wrestling's not actually in the cards, which is kind of why I am a ref. I just want to be in the world, man. I get it. I've been such a fan for such 100%. A long time.
100%.
What got you into wrestling, dude?
Oh man, it was.
Was there one wrestler that you were like, who was it?
You're gonna hate the answer.
Oh no, it's John Cena, isn't it? Ah, shit, that was a crazy guess, bro. You know what's funny?
Because like when I was young, John Cena was on his prime, right?
He's the real deal, though, man. You know, he wasn't my generation. He was like I respect the shit out of Cena.
Oh, 100%.
He's like, and he, like now he's doing the acting, and he's Peacemaker, and there's so many things going on in his life, but, and not to mention, like, this is a key thing about John Cena that I think people need to know, is that, like, he's done the most Make-A-Wish Foundation, like, grants or whatever the hell they call them. Like, he's granted more wishes than, like, anybody.
And by, like, a landslide.
Oh, dude.
Like, it's not even close.
No, it's not.
Like, he's upwards. I think he recently, or, like, this was, like, a couple of months. I don't know when it was, but he crossed 600. And the next is, like, not even, like, 250 or 300.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's
amazing.
Like, how much he's done. And I think this is the thing, right? So I'm not trying to make this, like, a pro-John Cena
it's okay, dude.
Monologue.
It's
like,
okay,
I'm not
dude.
trying to cut it
I'm a John Cena fan. I'm not, like, I don't even want to, like, I was never... When he was wrestling, I never cheered for him or anything like that. And I never bought any John Cena shirts. But, like... Now when I look back and like I just look at his body of work, I'm like, how can you not respect him?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I get the era of people that are upset at him, for sure, right? But it's the same people in pro wrestling. Because this is the thing, right? So pro wrestling in its very form is punk rock, right? We don't like the mainstream. We don't like the system. We don't like what's straightforward, right? Mm-hmm. So John Cena, when he became the mainstream, people started hating it, right? Like the best comparison they do is it's like New York Knicks. Right, like they don't like the Knicks because they win all the time, right, and they're successful. But it's like, what? How can you hate someone who's successful? It's like saying like my favorite browser is not Google because they're good at it. Like what? No, they're So John Cena is
Bing, baby,
Bing. Like I'm the Bing guy. Like,
yeah.
Chat GPT. Okay, sure, dude. Do whatever you want. But it's like so John Cena, right? Obviously, there was an era where, were there matches that he should have lost? Yes, Nexus, he should have lost. Right, the whole Dolph Ziggler feud where he got thrown off, Zack Ryder, where he got thrown off the thing in a wheelchair and like they like, it was bad. It was bad, right? So he should have lost that one. There's a couple matches like Bray Wyatt against WrestleMania. He should have lost that one for sure. For sure, there's some matches that John Cena shouldn't have won. But you can say that about Hulk Hogan.
But also, like, that's not necessarily his fault.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of them were like a lot of them, sure, he might have, like, pulled a strong arm in the back. But a lot of them...
It does happen.
Yeah, 100%. And he's big enough to do it. But in my head, I'm also like, okay, like, you have to also see, like, so many other wrestlers have done that. Like, Austin's done it. Hogan's done it. Triple H has done it. Shawn Michaels has done it. Like
Bret Hart, all of the big names.
All the big names in wrestling have done it, right? So you get it. You understand why. It's also like, dude, like, if, like, at some point you got to start blaming the management, no? Because if every wrestler's done it, what's the culture behind? Like, what happens when Vince or Triple H or any of these people, when they sit with, like, there's... Vince must have said something to Hogan and Austin and Michaels where they reacted that way. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be... You have to give your employees some sort of validation on the back, like, hey, you're my guy, so they can start pulling strong-arming people, right? Like, when Brock and Roman WrestleMania 34, he, like... Everyone's like, oh, finally Roman's going to beat Brock, whatever. And Brock won, and it was like a sad ending to a WrestleMania. He came in the back, and he threw the title at Vince. He threw the real Universal title. Brock did. Brock, the one of the scariest looking dudes on planet Earth, threw a real title in the face of an 80-year-old dude. You know?
But also his boss.
Yes. Yeah, which like Brock throwing the title hard enough could kill someone. Like these, right?
Probably.
Let alone an 80-year-old man.
They're not light titles.
100%, right? And it's like yeah, but like, and he's still employed, and he still crushes, and he still wins Royal Rumbles, you know what I mean? So at some point, you're enabling your own stars to act a certain way, right? And John Cena was like, bro, he was a hero to a generation, right? In my head, I'm like, there's people who, like, hate John Cena, but then they defend the fans, like the peak of Hogan, and I'm like, okay, but like he's much more of a shittier person in real life.
Oh, Hogan?
Yeah, like he's a racist.
Yeah,
cunt,
yeah, like,
right. And then Cena's granted like 600 wishes. It's like what?
Yeah. No, I get it.
It makes no sense to me.
It doesn't.
It makes no sense to me. And the thing is, like, when you're a child, man, like John Cena was your superhero. Like I was 14 when Cena had the orange shirt.
Yeah.
That I was the demographic they were making him for. Like he was an hour of Monday Night Raw every week, and I'm like, yeah, of course I love him, right? And like, how could you not? Like,
yeah,
so I'm like, Cena was my hook into wrestling. I'm like, yo, this is great. And by the way, one of the greatest promos in wrestling history.
Yeah,
like, Cena. Like,
and you gotta imagine was like a huge inspiration for Max Caster.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like
Max,
you can and it's not just
Caster.
even
I
the
love
rapping.
Caster,
like
yeah.
it's like
the whole vibe.
They got the big chains sometimes.
Even
and
the hair, like him being clean shaven, and like just like being all like giddy and fun, like like making inside. That was Cena's thing. Like he would make inside references. Love Max Caster, 100%. He's so good,
dude. All right, I think we should get into top 5, man. We're talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
Okay, so and we can do this if you want, if you can come up with it, but for like the AEW wrestlers, I didn't have any women.
Okay.
But I could do a top 5 women.
Me too, I think so.
Okay, so I'll just start off with the dudes, and then I'll do women. It's kind of like I'm just adding this on, but I just want to make sure you're able to come up with 5 too.
Yeah.
So for the dudes, I'm going MJF.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is coming out. See, we're recording this the night of
AEW
Revolution. Are you seeing it tonight?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So like, my top 2 are legit the dudes in the main event. Like, I just think Bryan Danielson has been like unstoppable, like just insane since he came to AEW. And then I'm going Rey Fenix. He's my 3rd.
Oh, yeah.
I know he's a tag team dude, but he's just like, he's mind blowing. Every time I see him, and I say this every time I talk to him or I talk about him, is that like he just does something new.
Yeah,
like
100%.
He'll put like a he'll just have like the craziest version of an arm drag you ever saw, or just some flippy shit that you've never seen done ever. You know, and it's like I love that. Darby Allin is my number 4 because I just think there's no one that genuinely puts their body. You could argue Hardy when he was there, like Hardy and him had like, if not, I'm thinking of one match where there was this giant ladder outside,
I remember that,
into a bunch of chairs.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did more matches, but like Darby Allin just is insane. I don't think he's gonna have a long career. I don't know if he plans on it, but the way he wrestles, it like, oh dude.
Yeah, it's bad. Like I genuinely see Darby Allin, because you know how like Hardy has had like a hip fusion surgery or something like that, right? Where he walks with a limp now, constantly. Yeah. I see that for Darby in like a couple of 10 years. 10 years, like Darby's everywhere. Even if he's going for like a T-shirt signing, he's like, "Why are you limping? You haven't wrestled in 3 weeks." I'm like, "No, that's what he does."
Dude, I met Mick Foley. Dude,
yeah. Oh man,
it's brutal for him.
It's
like,
bad. Man.
The way it puts a toll on your body.
Of course, why would you?
You know, and he's gonna get it quick.
Yeah.
And then my number 5, it was kind of hard. Kingston, I know, is not officially AEW anymore. I know. He might have been my number 5. It was a tie between him and Jericho.
Yeah.
But since he's not actually... Jericho's like one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Not just like AEW.
Yeah.
I mean like top 5 of all time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I gotta have him on the list.
Yeah.
Should I do the women? I don't even know the order of the women, but I can do 5. I wanna mention Serena Deeb.
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa.
Yeah.
Britt Baker. I'm a big fan of Abaddon.
Oh, so good.
I love her character,
Character.
Like I am hoping, like it's a toss-up because in my mind I'm like, Abaddon should be the one to take the TBS title from Cargill, and I think she might be injured right now or something like that.
I think she is. Yeah.
Because like my argument is just that like Muscle is not gonna beat Cargill. It doesn't seem like.
Sally was the other one that everyone thought was like drafted to take the title from Jade.
It seemed like that
because she's another like a strong, like strong, equal heights, like strong wrestler,
and she's over big. Like,
and she can like deadlift people, and like it's insane. She's hella strong. Like it's nice.
Did I say 5? I think I said 5.
Yeah.
What about you?
Okay, so we'll start with the women's, right? So for me, Britt has to be on it. I know she has like she's very like divides a lot of opinion on like how she is, but like I think she has one thing that like old school Alexa Bliss had or still has is like a crowd. Like she can control a crowd, and like that's big in wrestling, man. Like if you can walk out in front of 15,000 people and they hate you, and you can still get them to shut up and listen to you, that's big, right? So Britt's there. I love Jamie Hayter. I think she's amazing. I think she genuinely is like she's gonna eventually have the Batista moment with Britt being Triple H. Like that's gonna. I know they teased.
That was a crazy moment.
Right, I know they teased it once, but they got it back together and everything. But like she's gonna have the. Right, I'm not very caught up on AEW, by the way.
It seems. It's funny because I'm not either. I was actually.
What was the last thing you've seen? Because you will be embarrassed when I tell you mine.
I've seen. What was it? Takeshna and I don't know how to say his name.
Takeshna, yeah.
And MJF.
Okay.
That was like the last. That was the last Dynamite I saw, and they were like the first match, and it was for the title.
Yeah. So the match that this is where I started catching up on wrestling this weekend, and I'm at Grand Slam.
Okay.
In October.
Okay.
Which is.
No, I'm not that far. I'm in February.
Yeah,
I'm like second Dynamite of February.
So I'm just like, I gotta catch up. Like,
but it's with it like Instagram and like Facebook.
Oh yeah, I'm aware of what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm not like spoiler or anything like that, but like I'm just like in the story I'm a little further behind.
Yeah.
But like Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker. I also think like Toni Storm is really good. Mm-hmm. I don't know how good her mic skills are, because most of the mic time I've seen in the women's division, it's been with either Jade or Britt. So that's like, I just don't know how it's gonna work. I also think like, why am I forgetting her name? But she's in House of Black. Something Hart. Julia Hart.
That's it.
Julia Hart is dope. I think she's done great character work to like stand beside those 3 dudes and still look equally menacing, if not more. She's done a great job. I think Julia's freaking amazing. And Abaddon was going to be my 5th, because her character work is great. I think genuinely there was a point where, if you don't count like MJF, she was like the best character in AEW.
Yeah.
Easily.
I would argue that.
100%. Yeah. Let's do the men's.
Right.
We have going to have some common ones. So like, this is in order, I guess. 5-1. For me, it was going to be like Kenny. So for me, I was always like a wrestling WWE guy, right? Before AEW came on, I never saw ROH. I never saw New Japan. I never saw none of that stuff. Like I remember the first time I heard about Kenny Omega was when he had those like crazy matches with Okada.
Oh, okay.
With Okada, right? So that was the first time because it blew the internet, right? That's the first time I heard about Kenny Omega. I'm like, oh, whatever. And then I saw New Japan stuff, and I'm like, oh, it kind of looks weird, because the crowds don't react the same way as, like, American crowds do.
Yeah.
Commentary is kind of, like, it's different, obviously. The setup is different. They wrestle very different. So I'm like, I never got it. And then AEW is sort of like, it's like if you've never had Mexican food, AEW is Chipotle, you know? That's the vibe, you know? It's like if you've never seen, like, New Japan or ROH, you can watch AEW, and it's like it's like a good starter vibe. And then you can go to ROH and New Japan based on like what you like in it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, when Kenny Omega started, I'm like, oh, he's so over the top. What is all this?
Yeah.
And what is all this? And why is it a 16-minute entrance? And what is going on? Like that was my original thoughts.
Okay.
And then by that time, what had happened was all the Okada stuff had happened already. So everyone was like, oh man, like Kenny's so like big and. Like he was like the John Cena of New Japan, right?
Yeah.
Or like a big name, right? And it's like he's come to AEW and he's a tag wrestler, and everyone was confused, right? But it's good because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to expand more than just a singles guy who has an hour-long match. But then I started seeing his like in-ring storytelling, and I'm like, yeah, he's over the top. he's animated, but that's what wrestling is.
Yeah.
Like, so is John Cena. Like, Hogan is that. Like, what is all of that stuff, right? Like, so, like, every one of them, like, Undertaker has, like, a 12-minute entrance. Like, these people are, like, so in my head, I'm like, oh, it's just, like, because it's all of it is in one person. I don't appreciate it, but the in-ring storytelling of Kenny Omega is great, right? And what sold it over was the next guy and his feud with Hangman Adam Page, right? So Hangman is my, like, other wrestler, which I'm like, he's great story, like, underdog 101. It's perfectly done. Like, you know, sometimes it's like the Harry Potter chosen one, neglected, and then wins.
Yeah, and his story with Omega.
Oh, so good.
Beautiful.
So well crafted. So I know everybody talks about it in wrestling. It's that moment when it was Hangman and Kenny versus the Bucks. And they had that match, and then he was standing outside the ring like he was going to throw the lariat, and then they were posed as if they were going to throw the super kick. It's like a moment in time, and then neither of them do anything and just walk off, but it was like the first ever real tease of this breakup's going to happen, right? And it was such a well-crafted story. It was great. So I think Hangman's character work is great. I also think it's one of those people where Hangman's like, his promos remind me of Dan and Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, right? In the sense that it's genuine. It's who he is. Like, he means what he... Like, if I have a beer with him, he's going to say the same shit. That's what I feel. I gotta pick Eddie Kingston as the same logic as, like, technically he's not, but ROH is owned by AEW.
Fuck, I love Eddie Kingston.
It's so good.
Like,
Okay, hands down, best promo in wrestling ever. Eddie Kingston? Do you think so? I think so. Hands down.
I mean, I don't know anybody. Have you seen his... What's the Young Bucks podcast again? Being the Elite?
Yeah.
Have you seen his promos on there?
No.
Where he, like, cuts promos on, like... They'll, like... Everyone believes Eddie Kingston's the promo king, first of all.
100%.
And they'll be like, yo, Eddie, cut a promo on this cookie.
Yeah. I've seen
And dude, I'm just like... And he has, like... There's a couple of them like that, dude.
Yeah,
and I just think, like, he fucking oozes passion. I would say, like...
Top 3.
I would say him or MJF.
Yeah, 100%.
They're like...
100%.
And for different reasons also, but also for the same... Like, they have similarities and... you know, things that they do unique.
Yeah, 100%. I generally think, like... The only thing with MJF, sometimes I feel like he goes for the... And this is the comic in me. He goes for the low-hanging fruit. You know what I mean?
Oh, sometimes.
Yeah, but then it's okay. It makes,
the pores and all that kind of basic stuff.
Yeah, but it's like, or he'll like, insult sports team of town I am in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, come to Toronto, insult the rap. But also, it makes sense because he's a dick. Like, you're not supposed to... Like, the fact that his insults are low-hanging fruits is also him being an asshole. He's like, you know what?
Yes.
You guys are so... You're not worth even me coming up with the real...
Yeah. And that's what I think with him too, is like there are those layers to him.
Oh, it's crazy.
And you can also see that like on the surface he seems like a very selfish guy.
Yeah.
But I don't think he is,
no,
man.
He's not.
I don't think he is. And I'm still unsure if that whole thing with Tony Khan was just a work or whatever, but I'm kind of over even wanting to find out at this point.
Me too.
Like, I'm like, I don't even care.
Yeah.
It was great, and whatever came of it, it has been great.
It's
and,
yeah.
Yeah, but Eddie Kingston, you gotta mention him.
Yeah, Eddie
like,
Kingston
of all time, I mean.
All time, 100%. Because, like, there's promos, like, Cena is a great promo. I think The Rock is really good. The Rock is obviously... The Rock is really good. Like, Mankind has had some, like, really passionate...
Stone Cold,
100%. Like,
but man,
but
I don't know.
So good.
He's on another level.
It's just... Eddie will, like, make you believe anything. Inherently, everyone told us when we were growing up, as a teenager, if you're a fan of wrestling, oh, it's fake, you know.
Oh, people still say that.
People still say to me, like, I will wear a wrestling shirt, like, oh, that shit's fake, you know. I'm like, yeah, I know.
The fake shit?
Yeah, fake shit. I'm like, yeah, so is Game of Thrones. And so is, like, your favorite TV show, and so is Avatar, and so is all of Marvel. Like, I don't know. All of this, like, highest money grossing thing in the world is all fake. Like,
get over yourself.
Yeah, like, the highest grossing movie, the highest grossing TV shows are both fake. Right? In Game of Thrones and Marvel. Like, it's like, okay, so, like, why... Half of the things that these artists in their songs talk about is fake shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, come on. But Eddie's the one that's, like, suspends the disbelief the most. where his promo against Moxley, when he was like the heel or whatever, when like he goes like, my mom asked me why I don't have a house, why I don't have a wife, why I don't have a kid, and when I win this, I'm gonna tell her this is why mine. I'm like, yo, I'm crying right now. Like, why am I crying right now? I'm watching wrestling. Why am I bawling? Right now. Like, it's weird. Like I was bawling, dude. I was like, he's hands down one of the greatest. And the last two would be Moxley and MJF.
Okay.
I think Moxley has come into his own, like when the whole Punk situation happened, just came on stage and he was like, "We'll talk about." Yeah, well, he was like, "I was supposed to be on vacation as of 2 days ago." And I'm like, "Yo!" He completely, like he's a true like I don't give a shit. Like he's like the old guard needs to die. Fuck their ways of old school way of thinking. I give a shit about AEW. I care about this. He's one of the other people where he makes it real. Like, I watch Moxley, I'm like, yeah, that's why wrestling is real. Like, you know, he'll come out of wherever he wants. He'll wear whatever he wants. He'll talk real shit. That's something
that I really, admire about him as well. Is like, he's just, like,
he
really is. Okay, and so I did this seminar, and I did, like, a show with Thunder Rosa. And during the seminar, she was just talking about, I don't know, like, some frustrations came up about her position and just things that she wasn't happy with in her career, and she was just talking about not being kind of held back from doing like a lot of like promo stuff and mic work and just being on the mic, and when she's like backstage and like all that kind of stuff, and then was just talking about like Jon Moxley and how like he's not like, basically their argument to her was like, oh, we don't do that because like you need to get better and think more traditionally when it comes to like promo stuff. And then she was like kind of referencing Jon Moxley and his style of just like pacing and stuff, and now it's like
he's not
like he's been told the same stuff, and he's like just you'll never see him stand still when he's cutting a promo.
He's never traditional,
and that's cool with me. I don't necessarily like apparently like people frown on that. People frown on like Moxie's promo stuff, and I'm not saying he's the best.
He's not.
But I, watching as a fan, have never had an issue with him doing his walking around. And the way he does it.
Because he's frustrated, right? Like you could tell he's eager to go. That's his character, and I think it's also like I get it. Like MJF, I think is one of the most polished promos in like wrestling, and so is John Cena, and so is The Rock. But it's like that's their skill set. Right? Like, I wouldn't put Rock above Moxley in wrestling skills.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you'll put Rock above Moxley in promo skills. So every wrestler brings something to the table that's different. Sure, Moxley's not the best promo. He might not even make top 10 in AEW, sure. But the whole point is when he comes on stage or in a ring or backstage, he makes it feel real. It's like if wrestling was real, and if Jon Moxley was Jon Moxley as a person, this is what he would say. A real person doesn't have a closing punchline. Like, that's not how real people talk in life. Right? So he makes it feel real. And I think that's the whole point of wrestling. So I agree with you. People might frown upon him. But I'm like, dude, if I believe him when he's... And people do that. They hold on. He holds a crowd on every word he has to say.
Yeah, some people, them standing still isn't natural.
Yeah, it's not Moxley's character. Yeah.
If I feel like if at one point he actually did one...
It'd be weird.
It would be weird. That's what I'm, like... Fucking Jinx, bro. Jinx.
It'd be weird.
All right, dude. Let's go. Let's do comedians. Top 5 comedians.
Oh, wow. Again, it's going to start with like a very cliche answer, but it has to be Russell Peters. Right?
Right.
Like, I started watching him and I'm like... And I saw that his video that got the most viral, white shirt. He's on stage talking about 45 minutes on YouTube, just talking about... It's one of the most hilarious specials I've ever seen. Like, and I'm like, oh, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you can make fun of... Like... There's humor in us being different as races.
Yeah.
Right? So, because in my head, I'm like... Because yesterday, someone was like... I did a show, and they were like, oh, it's PG. It's PG-13, right? And I was like, okay, bad. And I made jokes about, like, Islam as a religion. And not Islam as a religion. Like, I wasn't making jokes about the religion. I was making jokes on the subject.
Yeah.
Right? And I was making jokes about... black people. And I was making jokes about Indian people, and I was like, I can do that. Like, I'm neither Muslim nor black, but in my head, I'm like, I should be allowed to talk about subjects, right? Like, there's no, as a brown comedian, I can never make black jokes. Why not? Right? Why not? And I would not be offended if a black person made brown jokes, right? It just depends on what the joke is and
Yeah.
what they said and what topic was covered.
Right.
But the subject is not out of...
Off limits.
Yeah, off limits. Exactly.
I agree.
So in my head, Russell Peters was the first comedian I saw. I'm like, oh shit. He made jokes about Jamaicans and Asians and black people and everyone. And he's from Toronto, right? So like he grew up around all these races. And I'm like, yeah. You can. You can make fun of all this shit.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like, it's just... Like, so that was one I think he's great. And like, everyone's like, oh, he's good at impressions. And I'm like, yeah, but like he uses them in setups and punchlines. Right? Like, everyone has a skill set again, like the same thing of like, everyone has a skill set as a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like, if my skill set is physicality, I'm not just making you laugh because I'm moving funny. I'm using moving funny as a punchline in a setup that I made.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, it's just a skill set. It's not, I don't think it's hack comedy to do accents or
I
physical.
don't either, man. There was a lot of shit that I actually caught, like back in the day for being like a Jim Carrey fan. And like, when I say this, I mainly, and there were other people, but like I have an aunt and an uncle that were always, and I'm not close with my family.
Yeah.
But like I'm still a big Jim Carrey fan. He's not doing as much stuff as he used to, but like I still love him just as much. And I don't even like, would you say Carrot Top is hack comedy?
No.
It's like, here's the thing, man. Carrot Top has found his thing, his niche. He's successful at what he does.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, man. Like, it's not like maybe not something you're gonna want to go see like every week or every month, but like it has its place.
Yeah.
And
everything does.
Yeah.
I think it's also a lot of people confuse hack comedy with niche. Like what you just said is very important, right? He's found his niche. That's not a hack comedy. Because a lot of people are like, oh, like for example, right? Like, so there's a comedian in the Toronto comedy scene, Ed Wold.
Yeah.
Right? Hilarious comedian.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Hilarious comedian. And he does physical jokes, right? And like, in my head, when I saw him do it, I'm like, yeah, you can do physical jokes. It's completely okay because it's just about how you use them. If anything, I don't think it's hack comedy. It's actually more risky, right? Because with a setup or a punchline, right? Say I have a setup and a punchline. Either a punchline does well or no one laughs. That is just another line in the show, right? But if you do a physical move that no one laughs at, that's cringy as fuck. It's very cringy.
And honestly, I feel like there's more commitment involved in
it
doing
is. Because it's a risk. It's a risk.
Yeah.
It's a gamble. It's like, I'm going to shake my ass on stage in the middle of a line. And it's either going to get a laugh or I'm going to look like a dumb fuck. Right? Like, the stakes are... With a punchline, it's like, oh, it's either going to laugh or it's going to be just a line. With physical movements, it's like, oh, they're going to laugh or I'm going to look like a fucking lunatic. So,
you know who Chris Farley is?
Yeah.
Okay, so Chris Farley had this, like... And, like, obviously, back in the day, these, like, night shows, like Letterman and Jay Leno and all that kind of shit, like, they had stand-up comedians perform sets. Yeah. They had that. But, like, I think the funniest thing I've ever seen on any one of these shows is just Chris Farley's entrance. And I want to say it was the Late Show with David Letterman. That's what I want to say it is, but it might not be. But it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
The point is, they, like, announced him, and he came from, like... the back, dude. And he, like, ran through a bunch and was, like, shaking people and doing all this, like, flibby shit. Like, he dropped down to the ground. And, like, a minute later, he ended up in, like, his seat. And, like, the music stopped. And he was just, like, kind of... Dude, like, I mean, that whole minute of just him running to his chair, doing whatever he did, was, like, better than any set I've ever seen performed on one of those shows. And, like... hey, man... Laughs are laughs. That's how I feel.
Funny is funny. Like,
That's
I always like to say it. Like, funny. And the thing is, like, if you think it's hack comedy and you don't find it funny, don't watch.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Don't watch it. You can just go to someone else's. Like, for me, like, I love sketches, sketch comedy, because that's what I started stand-up with. Or that's why I got into comedy. But I love it on YouTube. I don't like it live. I'm not a big fan of it live. Like, I like YouTube sketches more than I like SNL.
Okay.
Because the whole punchline in SNL is the person broke character, and now they're laughing. I'm like, okay, but that's the whole punchline. There's not actual sketches, so you just have to play absurd characters till you get laughing. Sometimes I'll have fun sketches, like Key and Peele, for example, is my jam with sketches, where it's like perfectly edited.
They're really good.
The jokes are funny. It's not about Keegan-Michael Key breaking character, and then it's funny, haha. That's a different kind of humor. Again, I'm not saying it's not funny.
Yeah,
I'm saying
it's not much. Yeah.
That's how I like sketch comedy. So just don't watch, it's easy. Yeah. Russell Peters, I have to say Trevor Noah is another one who's
right.
like really here. I think like a comedian who I've seen done there's a thing about like on stand-up with like having laughs constantly, right? Because if you have like a 2-minute setup, it just almost feels daunting. Because 2 minutes on stage, by the way, is a long time.
Yeah.
Like if you start the clock now and you just go on 2 minutes and there's no laughs, you're just building up a setup. This better be fucking funny, right? And Trevor Noah has like 5-minute setups, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, how is he so comfortable in the silence? Like, he's talking, and the crowd is like, he's holding attention. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm like, Jesus, dude. Like, how is it? How are you doing this? Like, it's just admiration at that point. I'm like, oh wow, this is a skill set I don't have at all. Yeah. Like, there's in his special, I don't remember which one, but there's a whole bit about him basically describing the incident where Barack Obama met Nelson Mandela for the first time, and Barack was just like a scrawny little kid who didn't have gravitas, or like, as we know Obama as the president, he was just a scrawny little black kid. But Nelson was like, yo, you're going to be the first black president, you better have gravitas. And it's just a whole bit of him, Nelson coaching Barack to get to the current voice that he has. And that's the whole bit. And in the end, he gets it, Barack gets it, it's a round of applause, it's a great impression that Trevor does. And he just does Nelson Mandela's voice, also a great impression that he does. And he just goes, thanks, my N-word. And I'm just like, what? It's just hilarious to hear like Nelson Mandela say the N-word to Barack Obama. Because they're such like renowned world leaders. Yeah. But they're just like shooting the shit as bros. And I'm like, that's the funniest thing ever. But it was a long setup. I'm like, when is the funny coming? No one's laughing, Trevor. But he's so good. He's so good. Also, like, in terms of, like, physical comedy, I think, again, I know these are all, like, people that I'm naming that are, like, considered overrated in comedy or whatever.
Oh, whatever.
But Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
I genuinely have to think, like, he can... Like, it's hard, man. Like, I've been in rooms full of, like, 100 people, 120 people, and I can't hold all their attention. He goes to stadiums full of, like, 10,000 people.
Have you seen him live?
I haven't seen him live. But, like, I'm like, he holds 10,000 people. That's insane. Great.
Have you seen Die Hard?
No, I haven't.
He just came out with this movie where he plays himself. And he's like tired of doing like typical roles and stuff, and he wants to be like an action star. Yo, it's actually really I enjoy it.
He's funny, and I think a lot of people, especially present day, think of him as like a movie star, and think of him as like a comedic actor,
and also like sometimes you get like generic, like it's like
he's generic humor,
but like it's like he didn't start out that way. It's like he was so present, and there that like. That kind of like I don't think we're gonna get into Linkin Park stuff after this, but it's also kind of how I view Linkin Park, because Linkin Park now people would for sure consider a mainstream band, but I don't feel like there's people that are mainstream because they chase it, and there's people that the mainstream chases. Yeah. And Kevin Hart was one of those people. Yeah. Just like Linkin Park was one of those bands.
Yeah, that's such a good line. You should put that on a t-shirt.
Well, fuck.
Well, you have it recorded.
Yeah, I do have it.
There's people who chase the mainstream, and there's people who mainstream chases. Like, that's what he said. I think I'm paraphrasing. Like,
something along those lines. But I mean that. Yeah.
People clip it in the comments. But yeah, no, that's dope. You're 100% right. Like, when he started out, he was just a regular stand-up comedian with great observations, right? And the other thing is, with stand-up comedy, right, relatability is a big factor, right? And when you become one of the biggest movie stars in the world, you stop becoming relatable. You know what I mean? Like, Kevin Hart takes more private flights than probably most people in America. Yeah. So when he does stand-up now in 2023, how can he be relatable? Okay, he's going to talk about being a parent. Because no matter who you are in the world, being a parent is a shared experience. Right? And it's funnier when he goes, yo, I'm the biggest superstar in the world, and my child doesn't respect me. And it's hilarious. It's fucking hilarious, right? It's funny. Or, like, he can talk about relationship issues. He can talk about being afraid of animals. Like, these are things that, like, makes him relatable. So, if anything, he's become one of the biggest movie stars in the world and still managed to be relatable. That's hard, man. Like,
that takes a bit of work.
Every time I watch the interviews of, like, like any of these celebrities on Jimmy Fallon or Kimmel, whatever, I'm like, these people are not relatable. Like they talk about stories from their Instagram life or like day-to-day story because they have to. You can't just come on and be like, yeah, I was on my private jet with my private chef on my movie set, and like that's no one's gonna like that. You just come off as a cocky cunt because you're not relatable. So Kevin has managed to stay that way, and I think he's just incredibly funny because if you watch him on podcasts, if you watch his like interviews with The Rock, just interviews, he's so funny, dude. He's so my favorite bit of him when he is in his car with his girlfriend or wife at the time, and he gets a call from his buddy and he puts it on speakerphone because he's driving, and he talks about like fucking white bitches and cheating on his wife, and he goes no 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 no, and he just turns into a shell of himself. It's the funniest shit ever. It's great, and I also like him because he's short and like there's a little bit of relatability of like oh he's a short comedian who can command a room. I was like I admire it. There's a little bit of that. Fuck it. Okay, so we got two more, and I'm gonna brush through them quickly.
It's all good.
I think one of the funniest, like in terms of like bit writing, John Mulaney is hilarious.
All right.
I think like a couple of his specials with him talking, his whole Bill Clinton bit, him talking about his wife as like he was like, why get married when why buy the cow when you can just get the milk? Like that's the whole like bit. He was like, when I got married, people used to tell me that, and he just wrote a bit about, in metaphor about cow and milk and being married. And then he has a whole bit about Donald Trump as like a horse is loose in the hospital. And I think that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Right? Because when Trump was like in office, everyone had jokes on him. Right? Yeah. He's like comedic gold.
Yeah.
But his bit about like he is like the horse, like a horse is loose in a hospital. It's like, what the fuck do you do if a horse is loose in a hospital? Like you can't do nothing. It's the most like unthinkable situation. And like they're like they get these experts on TV who once saw a pigeon at the airport. That's not the same. Like that's the funniest shit ever. I'm like, it's so true. It's so true. I think John Mulaney, in terms of his writing, is one of the funniest comedians.
I don't know a lot of him.
Yeah, he's good. He's newer, relatively newer. And then if I have like, there's this one other comedian, and I know he's Indian, so it doesn't work, but. He's just hilarious. His name is Kanan Gill. Obviously, I don't expect you to know that. But he, the best way I could describe him is, like, he's the most polished comedian I've ever seen. So he had this last special where he talks about depression and metaphors throughout the special. And, like, every word is connected to the other word. And when you're watching the first half, you're like, oh, these are just 6 random stories. And then you watch the second half, you're like, oh, shit. It's all like interwoven and it's beautiful, and most of it is in English, so you can watch it and like it's great, you'll get it. But he's one of the most like intricate comedians I've ever seen in my life. Right. And I've seen him live and stuff like that. So yeah, I know. Right. Yeah, greatest. Yeah. Hey,
dig.
Yeah.
Solid list. Right, I'm gonna go through mine quick. I've done them before on here.
Do it.
So Rogan.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's my number 1. Dave Chappelle is my number 2. I feel like they're pretty even, but I don't know. I lean towards Joe Rogan because he's white. No, I think there's other things that I like about Joe Rogan that maybe play a factor, but like I'm going Mark Forward is my number 3.
Yeah,
and then. Number 4 is George Carlin.
Oh, yeah.
Number 5 is Bill Burr.
Oh, yeah. Bill Burr just didn't make my list.
Yeah.
Very close. Like between, like, if I had to pick, but like, Bill Burr could easily replace, like, Russell Peters on that list. I feel like.
I feel like I could do, like, a top 20, and all of them would be, like, fucking amazing, man.
Yeah, 100%. Like, Bill Burr is one of the... For Russell, I feel like there's a little bit of nostalgia in me because he is where I got started. Mm-hmm. So there's just like a rose tinted glasses soft spot in my heart. But definitely, I think Bill Burr is one of the funniest comedians to exist on planet Earth. He's so good.
Let's do superheroes.
Oh wow, yeah. For me, it has to be Iron Man, like number 5. Right?
Okay.
It's the most obvious answer. I feel like he's one of the most like beloved superheroes out there. But for me, it's like. He was the first like superhero other than Batman that we saw that was like flawed, right? Like, oh, he's deeply flawed. He drinks.
Mm-hmm.
He's not, like, good with his employees. He's not good with people he works with. He's, like, a flawed person, right? And I'm like, okay, like, this is great. Like, it's real.
Yeah.
He's not just, like, your Supermans and Captain Americas of the world. He's, like... He's a flawed human being, right? It's like that's what I love about Iron Man, and also cool. He's fucking cool. He's the first superhero to go, yeah, I'm Iron Man, dude. Like I am. This is who I am. Like no mask, no secret identity. Fuck that shit. I'm.
And again, another human who just has like
who just has like and like smart guy, but like very rich. So he has that. Spider-Man again has to be one of the people. Like he was my favorite growing up. I think each one of the renditions have been great. Tom is great, but I have a soft spot for Tobey Maguire for sure, right? Because that was the Spider-Man I grew up with, right? Yeah. There's also Thor, not more as a superhero, but like the last 2 movies have been really good because Taika's really good at like making funny, and I love funny.
Do you want to hear true facts? So, I saw the first Thor movie. Okay, so I'm sorry to interrupt your list.
No.
Off the gate, not a big Thor or Captain America fan.
Me neither. I'm not a Captain America.
But I've seen all Captain Americas.
Yeah.
They were alright movies. First Thor I didn't really like, and I heard the second one is like one of the worst.
Oh yeah, it's one of the worst Marvel movies.
Haven't seen it yet, and I still haven't seen the third or fourth Thors.
If you're gonna see it, first is fine. If you have to get the story, just power through the second one. That's when you have it in the background and you edit your stand-up videos.
I like the direction that they're going. Like I like the fun. I enjoyed Fat Thor. I enjoyed the more comic side of Thor.
Yeah, so that's what got me to it, right? Because like as a comic, I'm like I love funny shit.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get the God of Thunder to look like a fat piece of shit. I'm like, yo, I love this. This is my because it's the great juxtaposition of like, oh, he's one of the most powerful superheroes. He can handle the energy of a sun hitting him, sure, but he's drinking beer and playing PlayStation. That's my favorite shit. I'm like, this is dope. This is dope, right? So like, I love that, and the humor. Like Taika is more credit to like Thor being one of my favorite superheroes because he's made him funny.
Yeah.
Right, and again, like all of these people, like what I like about them is that they all have flaws. But not that like I like flawed superheroes because that's why I hate Captain America. But because Captain America doesn't realize his flaws. That's the problem. Like all these people, they realize their mistakes. Captain America is too righteous for his own good. Like he's so righteous that he causes problems. Like motherfucker, get your shit right. Like like, sometimes you can put the righteousness away. You know what I mean? It's like, but anyways, that's a different. And then I have to say Captain America. No, not Captain America. Thor, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk. Just because like I grew up with like anger issues in my life, so like there's a lot of like relatability with Hulk. Because I grew up as an angry kid. And there's still part of me that gets angry very quickly. Like I snap sometimes. I know I don't come off as that guy, but like if I snap, I snap. It's bad. It's bad. Like it goes for
when I'm angry.
Exactly. Angry, right? Like so, like just it goes like it was kind of like Hulk in the sense like, oh, everything was normal at minute 1. What happened at minute 4? Like what the fuck went wrong, right? So that's why I relate with Hulk like a lot, and Ant-Man, which is because he's again one of those. He's the most like real. Like he's the most real. I know we're gonna talk about him, but like I love it. It's so
okay. So Quantumania.
Yes.
Okay, so
honest thoughts. Go for it. I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay, without doing this, I'm so like, and since I've seen the movie, I've read a little bit of what people are thinking.
Correct.
Because like I went to work and I was like, yo, this fucking movie was amazing.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah, and then like other people were like, oh, I heard bad reviews. Someone on Facebook's like, oh, really? Like, I just heard nothing but bad things. And it's, honestly, man, Ant-Man, surprisingly, has been one of my favorite parts of the whole MCU. We're going to be doing Paul Rudd movies as well. Top 5 Paul Rudd movies. But, like, I've enjoyed all 3 of the Ant-Man movie. I guess Ant-Man and the Wasp now. Yeah. But I liked it. Okay. The things that I didn't like their use of MODOK. I loved how MODOK was. I thought he was hilarious. I didn't mind how he looked.
Yeah.
I just didn't like that he was just kind of like this small side thing that was just like written off. Yeah. And like, it seemed like, and I'm hoping not, but it seemed like a one and done. Like that's that's it for him.
Yeah.
That's it for that character. And like I really like that character. So that was like an issue. I always just have issues with like overuse of CGI, but with these kind of movies, it's like unavoidable, and I kind of,
right?
yeah, exactly,
yeah.
dude. Like I've grown to accept. Like, how are we gonna use practical effects, or practical effects to make this
to show the
realistic?
quantum realm? Like, yeah, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, so it's like I've grown to live, or just like a lot of the shit, like any superhero movie in general, like. Yeah. I've just grown to accept we're not living in the days of like the first two Ninja Turtle movies,
correct,
The Secret of the Ooze and shit like that. Like those days are mostly done. But I thought the story was good. I like where it's going. It feels like Ant-Man's gonna play a much bigger role in future MCU movies. I liked Kang. I enjoyed seeing Cassie as Stinger.
Yes.
Fucking shouldn't have killed MODOK off. Spoilers.
Yeah, 100%. Spoilers, by the way. Yeah, dude, I fully agree. So my big thing about like movies nowadays is because I'm not caught up with a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't like to watch stuff online because I know I'm gonna get spoilers, and I know I'm gonna get like reviews of things before I go watch a movie, and it's gonna color my opinions. Okay. And I like to color my own opinions.
Right. That's how I feel too.
Right. So I went into Quantumania with just context about what we're gonna see, but no reviews, no nothing. I just blank slate. Right. Going to the movie. Two things about it, right? So one complaint that I can see everyone, and I've not read what the online criticisms have, okay. Right? So correct me if I'm wrong, but the biggest complaint I had when I walked out of the movie, like first thoughts, immediate, which are never good. Nuanced thoughts are always the best. First reactions are not always the best. So my first thought was predictable, like a predictable movie. Like I was at Act 1 and I was like, oh, this was gonna happen, and they got me wrong. Like I predicted 6 things, I only got 3 of them right. So not as predictable as I thought, but kind of predictable. Right? But then I thought about it and I'm like, how many Marvel movies have been there? There's a pattern. You know what I mean? There's a pattern to
there's been a pattern.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's also not even just Marvel movies. It's like if you are a film buff and you understand how films are written and you understand how screenplays and stories are written, there's an Act 1, there's an Act 2, there's a conflict scene, there's peak conflict. These are literally skill. It's the same way as comedy has like the rule of 3.
Yeah.
Right? Misdirection. Right? Yeah. Like setup, punchline, callbacks. Like these are all technical things about film writing. If you know any of that shit, half the movies you're going to watch are predictable.
Marvel does have like a very
set formula.
Yeah,
but it works. I get it.
It does work. But also it does lead to like even my girlfriend who doesn't watch these movies was like, yo, MODOK's going to kill him.
Yeah.
Like, spoilers. Yo, honestly, see the fucking movie. Yeah, if you're watching this and you haven't seen the movie, you deserve for the shit to be spoiled. You fucked up.
It's also coming out, like, not now. It's coming out, like, later. By the time, like...
yeah, you've had much more time. Like, get your shit together. But, like, even her not being, like, super into these movies. Correct. She's seen the first 2 Ant-Man, but she doesn't really like the genre as a whole.
Yeah.
But even she was like, oh, yeah, this is, So... Yeah. I agree.
And the second thing was, everyone's like, this was a setup movie. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing, right? So that's the one problem. So I feel like it's a 30-40% Marvel's fault, 60% audience's fault, right? Every movie can't be Endgame. And I'm not trying to, like, make this a PSA, but it can't. Every movie can't be Infinity War and every movie can't be Endgame because then nothing would be special.
See, the thing also, like...
Because people have, like, they're always like, it wasn't as good as Endgame. I'm like, yeah, but Endgame was, like, a peak of, like, a whole arc.
Straight up, bro, I like Infinity... Out of the Avengers ones, I like Infinity War the most.
Yeah, 100%.
That was my favorite.
That's what people do, they'll walk out of, like, Thor, and, like, it wasn't as good as Infinity War. I'm like, you're stupid. You're stupid.
Yeah, come on.
Episode 2 of season 3 is not going to be better than the final episode of season 2. You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But if the final episode of season 3 is not as good as final episode of season 2, sure, complain. Right? So when the next 2 Avengers movies that come out, like, next to next year, whenever they come out, if they're not as good as Infinity War and Endgame, sure, complain. Makes sense, because they were also a finale saga of, like, another phase.
Right.
You can't compare, because the thing is, some movies have to play setup, so other movies can play punchline.
Especially in a big, like, shared universe like this. Yeah.
Yeah, some movies have to play. Like, Thor has to play the funny sidekick movie. And Ant-Man has to play setup. For Kang, right? And the third fault, which is not Marvel's fault really or anyone's fault, is when they announced at Comic-Con the whole calendar for the next 3 years of the movies that are going to come out. One of the movies, one of the first Avengers, is called Kang Dynasty.
Yeah.
So it's like, imagine if they announced Avengers Infinity War as Avengers Thanos Dynasty, and then Thanos was introduced as one of the villains in the first Iron Man movies. You know he's not going to die. Because 3 years from now, there's a movie announced that's in his name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was set up for, failure is not the right word, but it was set up for a way where it's like, oh, obviously the villain's going to come back.
I like that as well. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's not anyone's fault. It's not Marvel's fault, per se. It's not the audience's fault, per se.
It's kind of Marvel's fault.
It is kind of Marvel's fault, but in the sense that they have to announce the calendar, right? Otherwise people don't get excited. And it's like, okay, like, if you're excited for Kang Dynasty, this is where you get to know how Kang becomes who he is. Which was great. And it was fun. It was fun.
Dude, I think even though it was, like a setup movie, it also had its own, you don't need to necessarily know a lot about Marvel to go into this movie, and that's what I really like about that. It's kind of its own thing because they all just kind of like disappear from the regular world.
Correct.
It's kind of like it holds its own weight. Like
someone who's never seen a Marvel movie could go watch this movie and have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best part. And like, other thing is, like, it was still fun. Like, the whole character about how many holes do you have? Do you have holes? Hilarious. Hilarious. I'm like, dude, like, yeah, it was a good movie. I think people online are just being a little fucking... They want every Marvel movie to be Infinity War, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean... What do you want to do next? Let's do Paul Rudd movies. Let's do that. We were talking about it, yeah.
I think... I've cheated. One of them I've picked is Living With Yourself, which is not a movie.
That's hilarious. I put that on there too.
Okay, bet. Okay, because like, great. I think it's because we all know, like, Paul Rudd as he got popularized as a comedic actor. Mm-hmm. But man, what fucking acting he's done.
That's a great show.
Playing two different characters. Living With Yourself, beautiful show. I Love You Man, funny movie,
dude.
Yeah, because like he picks a best man. He has to pick a best.
I love that movie.
It's so fun.
I love that.
It's so fun.
Okay.
The Ant-Man series, like, I'm putting them as one. You have the same one. It has to be. I mean, it has to be. It's so good. So what I love about Ant-Man movies, they're a great genre on its own. Yeah. And when people are like, oh, some movies are set up funny, they forgive that with Thor Ragnarok and Love and Thunder, but they're not forgiving it with Ant-Man. I'm like, but why? It's the same logic. Thor was a funny setup movie. Ant-Man was a funny setup movie. Why not? Like, so the Ant-Man trilogy is really good. Mm-hmm. There's another one that's like, it's not rated as high, but it's fun. It's called Mute. It's on Netflix. It's like a sci-fi movie for Paul Rudd. I haven't seen that. Yeah, it's really nice. It's essentially like, it's like a thriller movie, so I won't give spoilers. It's like, it's not like that good. It's not because like I Love You Man is better. Living With Yourself is better, but it's a good movie. And then Captain America: Civil War, which I know is technically not a Paul Rudd movie. Okay. But he's a big part of it. And the biggest reason I feel like Paul Rudd's Ant-Man was such a good superhero is because he's relatable. Right? Because when he's near Captain America, he's excited. He reacts to Captain America like how I would react to Captain America. Or he's not my favorite superhero, but he's still a big deal. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, wow. Like, he's, like, losing his mind when he's hanging out with Thor and Cap. I'm like, yeah, it's relatable, dude. Someone has to lose. How are you not losing your mind if you're hanging out with Captain America?
It's like, oh, yeah.
It's just Cap. It's Cap. It's, you know what I mean? It's like, I love that shit. So those are my 5 Paul Rudd movies.
All right. I dig it. Okay, so a lot of similarities. My number 1, I Love You Man, dude.
Yeah, so good.
I'm also a really big Jason Segel fan as well. Yeah, so like, them together. So funny. Also, I didn't put it on the list because he only has a really small role in it, but Forgetting Sarah Marshall, honorable mention to that.
100%.
He's really funny in that, even though it's small. Then I'm going the Ant-Man trilogy. Yeah. I also put that as a trilogy in there. Role Models.
Nice, yeah.
That's a really good one. Then Anchorman.
Okay.
Anchorman, and then... Living With Yourself.
Living With Yourself is so good. So good.
I was going to do a whole spiel about Living With Yourself, so I'm glad you had it on your list too.
Yeah. Yeah, Living With Yourself, if you haven't seen it...
Go check it out.
Yeah, Paul is great in it. Like, if you want to see Paul's acting chops, that's the movie.
Yeah,
That's the movie to watch. Or show, I guess.
Yeah, but it's not. I feel like a lot of these shows are like movie quality nowadays.
Oh
so
yeah, they are.
They feel like
some of them
movies.
are better. I mean, look at like
yeah,
some of them are better.
Have you been watching Last of Us?
No, but I've heard a lot of it about it. I should watch it, but I haven't played the game, so I don't know.
I haven't played the game either, man.
Okay.
I'm really loving the show though.
Okay.
All right, dude. Let's end on Linkin Park albums.
I have to, because it's not like I see them around everywhere. It's like right there. Okay, so Linkin Park albums. I had to just write it down just to make sure I wasn't getting my stuff wrong.
All right.
Minutes to Midnight.
Is your number one?
Yeah, no, number 5.
Okay.
So number 5, Minutes to Midnight.
Yep.
It just like has great songs, bleed it out. Because for me, right, so this is the one thing that is culturally very different back home, is that we love songs, not albums. You know what I mean? So it's like I know of Linkin Park songs before I knew of Linkin Park albums.
Yeah.
So that after, like, because you can rate songs on their own. Like, if you pick just one song out of an album, you can compare them.
Yeah.
To compare an album is now, like, completely different.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the one thing I was like, oh, people hear, like, people always like, oh, what's your favorite album? I'm like, I don't listen to the whole album, dude. I listen to the 3 songs that everyone talks about. It's a very generic shit, right? Because, like, it's like, that's how you get into it. But once you are into it, then you're like, I listen to the whole album. One More Light. Beautiful album. I think Battle Symphony is one of my favorite songs ever. I think there's like Linkin Park like greatest ever songs for sure. Like you know the ones I'm talking about. Yeah. But it's like Battle Symphony.
Battle Symphony would be on there though. The greatest hits album that would be on there. I think.
So good.
Off that album, my favorite is Invisible.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I really like that song.
100%. I love Living Things.
Yeah.
Because like. Just like it's so good. Burn It Down is really nice. Castle of Glass is just it's so good. I know I'm saying generic answers, but it's so good. It's so good. Meteora is number 2. Yep. Just because like Numb is such a good song that it pulls the whole album. You know what I mean? It's like Messi in Argentina. It's like it's like taking the heavy lifting, dude. It's like scoring every match.
Yeah.
It's like Numb. I think growing up as like an angry teenager, I was like Numb is so relatable. Like, it's 100%. And number 1, Hybrid Theory, of course. Yeah. I mean, it has to be. Like, it can't be anything else. In the end, fucking Crawling, so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so my number 1 is obviously Hybrid Theory.
Yeah, it has to be. You have a record right there.
I feel like if there's, like, one album I could listen to for, like, it would probably be that album. Meteora is my number 2.
Yeah.
With Meteora, it was awesome because, like, I didn't know who Linkin Park was when Hybrid Theory first came out.
Yeah.
But with like I knew who they were when Meteora was coming out, and this was a time when like YouTube wasn't really a thing. Mm-hmm. Like check the dates, but it definitely wasn't what it is now.
Oh no, 100% it wasn't.
And you couldn't go like LimeWire was still a thing.
Oh yeah.
And like the Edge 102. Like if you're in Toronto, the like major rock station is Edge 102.1. And they were like the night before the release of the album, they were doing like a listening party. So it came out, I guess, technically at midnight.
Yeah.
But they played it at like 9 p.m. the night before, bro. Nice. And I remember getting like a whole bunch of fucking snacks. Nice. And like going in my room and having like my headphones on and literally like sitting in the dark. Like there was a little light on in the corner, but it wasn't anything like this, Yeah. I was just basically like in the dark with my headphones, eating snacks, listening to that shit for the first time, and it just like blew my mind.
Yeah, so good.
Minutes to Midnight is my number 3.
Yeah.
Reanimation is my number 4. I would argue like the best remix album of all time.
Yeah.
It's the only time I ever heard a remix be heavier than the original song. Like the With You version on Reanimation is way heavier than the version on Hybrid Theory. And then I'm going Living Things.
Living Things,
yeah. I thought Living Things is like... If I was to... I think Living Things represents like... It's like a perfect representation of like all their albums if you combined it into like one.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, like if you had to give someone Linkin Park 101... Yeah, 100%.
A lot of Lost in the Echo.
Oh, yeah, so good.
Amazing, too.
So good. Dude, I also love Bleed It Out.
Yeah.
Just so good.
It's classic, so man.
Also, Faint, come on. Like,
did you know Bleed It Out is about writing?
What?
It's about writing.
Oh, that makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, and obviously they're talking about, like, music, but, like...
Yeah.
It's not... Like, if you listen to it now, you'll hear it.
Oh, wow. I want to listen on the way. Drive back home.
All right. You do one, I'll do one.
Okay, I'll randomly pick one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Oh, this one's hard.
All right.
Do you talk about politics with your friends and family?
A little bit, but not really. I'm so like anti. Like I'm like more like libertarian kind of views, where it's like I just want politics to be like as far as away from me as possible. Like I don't vote because I feel like the system's fucking broken and I want it to be part of like some stupid like. Anyways, short answer, no, really.
Yeah, me neither. I don't talk about it. For me, it's like very like different because like it's so deep that I don't think anyone in my family, including myself, is qualified, or my friends is qualified enough to understand it.
Yeah.
So it's like we're all like, it's like we're all talking about a system that no one gets. Like if I leave a magic show, I'm not gonna debate with my friends or family on how they did the trick because none of us have fucking clue what they did.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like, I'm not gonna just. There's no point because it's always gonna lead to conflicts.
Yeah.
And it's no point because like. It's an external system that doesn't give a shit about you, but now I'm fighting with the closest people that I care about. Like,
right.
It makes no sense.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Fuck no.
Okay. Do the years seem to pass more quickly as we grow older?
Oh my god, yes. I hate it so much, Paul. You have no idea. I hate it so much. I hate it so fucking much. The last 3 years have been a blur. It's been a blur. Like, if you point to me if you just pull a photo out of my phone, like, what year was this? I'm like, I have no fucking clue. I couldn't tell you for the life of me. It's bad. I hate it.
I generally, if I'm looking at photos, I can tell how old they are based on where my hairline is.
Fair, I guess.
You know what I mean?
I guess that's one way of doing it. But it's bad, dude. It's bad. Like, some of the incidents I don't remember. Some of the parties, if you told me, I'm like, oh, that was in 2021. I'm like, no, that was 2022. I'm like, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. One theory that I've heard, and it's the most makes sense to me because it uses math, is that when you were younger, a year was a bigger percentage of your life than it is now.
Interesting.
So if you were 5 years old, a year was 20% of the life you lived.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're 20 years old, it's like 4% of the life you lived. So that's why it feels faster. Right? So when you're 50 and a year goes by, it's like less than 2% of your life.
Yeah, yeah.
So it feels going faster because it's now a smaller percentage.
Okay.
That's how I've seen it. So it's like if I spend an hour in this room today, right? Like that's going to be like the longest I've ever spent it. But if I live here, then this hour's not going to feel this long. But for me, oh my God. I'm like, oh, I remember everything about this space. But you've spent so much time in this room, for you it's like, oh, it's whatever. It's another hour. So that's what I've heard. Okay. It's just kind of comforting, but I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, I like so much so I feel like that like sometimes I don't even know what day it is, bro. Like I barely have days off, dude. Yeah. Like when it comes to like my 9 to 5 and doing the reffing and doing like comedy, like podcasts now that it's back, like I just I don't know, man. I don't have any days off, and it just. I remember, in school, it's just, it feels more day to day. Then you graduate and whatever, and you're working, and then it's like time kind of goes by. And for me anyway, it was like, oh, it goes by in paychecks. It's like I was getting paid every week, and then like the weekly pay thing for some reason like fizzled out, and then bi-weekly became more of a normal thing. Yeah. So then time moved by every 2, and it just
100%.
It definitely seems like it's going by.
There's no structure. I hate it. It's like the open world in GTA. It's like, what? Tell me what I have to do and I'll go to bed. I hate it.
Alright, which other one?
If you knew you would never be caught, which laws would you break?
Oh, buddy, I would just rob banks. Mad banks. Oh, yeah. It's it. I would just do a bunch of shit to get money.
Yeah.
And then I would stop doing the shit. I would rob maybe 5 massive banks, and then I would just fucking...
Just chill for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I would still do the things I like to do.
Yeah, but not for
I wouldn't
financial pressure.
I wouldn't... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. 9 to 5 would be gone, for sure.
100%.
Right? I would just...
Yeah. I would 100%. So I would distribute... I would redistribute all the wealth from the rich people.
Yeah.
I'll just give it out to people who need it.
Yeah.
Keep a couple for myself.
Oh, well, now I feel really selfish.
No. That's what I mean. So what I will do is, my thing was Bezos, go to Bezos and Musk.
Yeah.
Basically leave them with how much they need to exist.
Yeah.
Take it, keep a billion for me.
Yeah.
And then redistribute everything else.
Yeah.
In the world. I'm like, hey, what do you need? How much do you need? You need a couple billion? Here's a couple billion.
So if I was doing that, I'd make sure I had like $3 more than Bezos, just so I could be like,
oh, 100%. No, Bezos will get like basic sustainable. I keep a billion. I'm doing all this work, bro.
Right.
Fuck,
you deserve it.
I deserve it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like my superpower you're misusing. So.
All right. This one is kind of tied to the other one.
Yeah.
When does time seem to pass more slowly or quickly for you?
Oh, slowly is when I'm waiting for something big. So if I have like a huge show tonight, the day would pass by so slowly. Or if I have like a huge exam, or like a big meeting at work.
Or like when you were a kid and it was like Christmas Eve and shit.
Yeah, something big, like something Christmas Eve, like a huge party that I'm looking forward to. If I'm going on go on a date and like right before, like that feels forever, right? Quickly is when I'm like doing shit that I love. Like when I'm on stage, I'm like, that's the light. Fuck, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Oh, if I'm not bombing though.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah,
I'm
like a bomb is time slows down and doing good. It's like
even
fuck,
crushing,
like,
the set goes.
especially if you're doing crowd work and it's like, damn,
Yeah.
I had a bunch of shit left and I was just having fun. Like
it's just so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. I think that's the best way comics can answer. It's like bombs feel like when time slow down.
Yeah.
And like crushing feels like, oh shit, that's 7 minutes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. That's my answer, man. That's it for me.
Yeah. Same for me.
All right.
Like, dope time.
You can let these people know where to get at you if you'd like, sir.
100%. So my Instagram is just my name, which is going to be hard. So I'm going to just ask Paul to put it in the description.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you'll see it if you're listening or you're watching. You'll see it.
Yes, it's going to be Instagram. That's where I put all my comedy stuff, shows, reels, videos, all that is there.
You have a link tree?
Yeah, I have a link tree. I have a link tree.
I
I have a link tree. Instagram's on there. Twitter's on there. Not that I post. If you want to see wrestling shit on, that's what I post on Twitter. And then TikTok. I guess,
Hey,
but I don't
follow my dude.
Thank you. No, follow Paul. If you're watching this because one of my friends, follow Paul. He's fucking hilarious. Go to one of his shows.
Honestly, like half the people that watch this shit aren't subscribed. So
yeah, subscribe.
You know, if you're watching and you've watched more than one and you actually are liking it, well, if you watch more than one and you're watching a second one, fucking like, subscribe, do all that shit.
Yeah, 100%.
Like always, podcast is brought to you by Neon Light District. Hit them up. Use code PillowTalk to save 10%. And by The Great North Apparel. Hit them up. Use code PillowTalk to save 30%. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
Much love. Appreciate you. And I'll see you in 2 weeks, guys. Peace the fuck out.